It is so good that I feel the need to use curse words to describe it, so if I drop an F-bomb in this video, I'm sorry. Hello guys and dolls, and welcome back. I am really excited about today's video. I'm going to be reviewing and swatching the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. This is the purple blue palette. There's also a green brown palette, which I am going to be working my butt off to actually procure today because these are launching on Beautylish this morning. OMG. And this is something that never in my wildest dreams when I first started my channel did I ever think that I would be reviewing a eyeshadow palette that costs $239. However, when I first started my channel, eyeshadows were nowhere near this quality, and generally speaking, most eyeshadows still aren't. That said, I just want to discuss the price of it just at the very beginning because I know it's definitely going to be a roadblock for a lot of people because $239 all at once is a lot of money to spend on an eyeshadow palette. However, when you break it down by the number of eyeshadows, and once you see me swatch these and you see the quality and the crazy rich pigmentation and the buttery smoothness, the price at least becomes justifiable. It doesn't make it any more affordable, but it's definitely a justifiable price for the quality. That's kind of how I feel about it. When I first heard about this palette, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way in heck I would ever buy that in a million years. And I didn't actually buy this. Beautylish sent this to me for review. Now that I've tried it, I absolutely have to have the green brown palette. I have to have that. So I also want to mention that there are going to be some smaller eyeshadow palettes that are 5 eyeshadows in one palette, and those are going to be $50. So those are actually a pretty good deal as well. So those ones are about $10 per eyeshadow. These are about $8 per eyeshadow. Now the singles of the Natasha Denona eyeshadows are $29 each. Or there's a little bit of price difference between the different formulas, but the average price is like $28, $29. So you actually are getting a pretty good bang for your buck if you consider what they cost individually versus what they cost in the palette. The final thing is that this eyeshadow formula might be the very best I've ever used. So I absolutely can see justifying the price. I am in fact justifying the price because I'm going to buy the other palette. But I do know that this is going to be cost prohibitive for a lot of people. So what I will say is that if you're looking for super buttery, rich eyeshadows, you might want to check out something like Makeup Geek's foiled eyeshadows. So their duochrome eyeshadows are really fantastic as well. And the Makeup Forever eyeshadows, while not necessarily cheaper because they're still pretty expensive, they are really huge pans. And those ones you can get for about $44 for 3 eyeshadows. So this is still a better deal overall. You can also buy these individually. As I said, they range from like $27 to $29 depending on the formula. So I'm going to mention after I show the swatches, I'm going to tell you guys which ones are my favorites in case you just want to pick up a few individuals. Let me go ahead and show you guys the swatches and I'll be back to talk about the formula. So now that you've seen the swatches, you understand what I'm talking about. It's freaking incredible. So this is the palette itself. It says Natasha Denona on the front and it has her little logo. Mirror on the inside, and it's a magnetized closure, which is quite nice. It's a rubberized finish, which is really easy to keep clean. And the inside is sort of like a foam type of cardboard, which is really quite good at keeping eyeshadows insulated. I have a few other eyeshadow palettes like this, and they really do help keep soft eyeshadows well insulated, which is good because these are fairly soft. Not really powdery per se, because powdery to me is kind of when something is just sort of like dusty and chalky, and these are definitely if anything, they're almost like crumbly because they're like a pressed pigment in an eyeshadow form. It's really fantastic. If you are into like crazy pigmentation, you really can't do better than this. There is a little slipcover thing which keeps them safe, but it's perforated so you can take it off. I may end up taking it off. I haven't made my mind up about this. I have another palette that has something similar to this, and I ripped it off and then I ended up regretting it, even though it's sort of annoying. The palette does fold all the way back, which is quite convenient. So two things that I have noticed by watching other people's reviews of this is that some people have a little slipcover that's labeled that shows the names of the eyeshadows, whereas this one, I have no way to know what the eyeshadows are called because there's nothing on the back, the slipcover isn't labeled, and the eyeshadow palette itself is not labeled. The box is labeled, so I'm going to have to keep the box because the second thing I've noticed from watching other people's reviews, some of these palettes have slightly different layouts. It's the exact same eyeshadows, but they do have a different layout, which I think is really kind of weird. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and keep my box that I know, or maybe I'll cut this out and maybe like tape it to where the mirror would be or something like that, just so I know the names of the eyeshadows, so when I make a tutorial I can tell you guys what I'm using. Now, in terms of telling you what my favorite eyeshadows from this palette are, this is going to be tough because there are literally, like, most of them are my favorite, but I am going to just tell you the ones that really get my motor running. These two first purples, it's Electric Violet and Nina's Orchid. OMG. I mean, the purples. I mean, of course, I'm going to love the purples. Particularly Nina's Orchid is really fantastic, really amazing pigmentation. I find sometimes with Electric Violet, it's kind of hard to work with, but it's totally worth it because the color's amazing. Rosewood is the color that I'm wearing all over my lid today. It is just perfection. It's one of the most beautiful pinky brown eyeshadows that I've ever used in my entire life. It's just gorgeous. Piggy is the color I'm wearing on my like inner corner here. This one has an interesting texture. It was like, how do I describe it? It was almost like it was packed harder than some of the others. So I had to like press on it a tiny bit harder when I was swatching them. And by the way, when I was swatching them, I was touching them like this, like barely touching them, and then boom, swatch. I mean, what the heck? Like, I barely even touched it. It's crazy, the pigmentation on these. It's just, I'm floored. This one, Gray Brown, is quite beautiful. One of the best taupes I've ever seen. Aubergine, of course I love that eyeshadow, but there's so many eyeshadows I have that are similar to it, like Max Fig 1, and I have one from Makeup Forever, so I have a lot of that same kind of color, so even though I love it, I'm like a little less impressed, because it's like, been there, done that, got the postcard. Maroon is, love it, wearing it on my lower lash line today. Golden Rose might be one of my favorite eyeshadows I've ever swatched. In fact, my girlfriend came over last night, and I was showing her this palette, and she was like, what is happening right now? It's just beyond. Oxide is one of my definite favorites. It's a beautiful deep copper. It's one that I didn't expect to like so much because I have similar colors from other brands, but there's just something special about it. This teal eyeshadow is also, it's called Powder Blue. It's very, very pigmented teal. Wow. Like, when I swatched this, I was like, holy shit. Like, I barely even accidentally bumped my finger and it was like, boom, bright spot of pigment. So very, very impressed with that. In the third row, my favorites would be Golden Beige, which is a really interesting color. It's like a gold with almost like a fiery look to it. It's very cool, very fun color that I'm looking forward to doing some looks with. This one's called Cool Plum, which is weird because it's brown. This is one that underperformed when I was swatching them. I kind of thought it swatched pretty shitty actually, but I used it in my crease today to blend out Rosewood in the crease, and holy shit, it was really, oh, see, there's a curse bird. Just really, really beautiful eyeshadow, blends beautifully, performs wonderfully, just really, really fantastic. Petroleum Blue, OMFG. So good, my man. Like, it does things to me on the inside. I wanted to use it today, but sometimes the blues can be difficult to work with, so I went with the easy, fast, quick look, which is the browns. If you're only going to get one eyeshadow, let it be Petroleum Blue. So in this final row, my favorites are Vintage, which is this sort of smoky plum color. Calypso Blue is quite beautiful, and I'm really interested to discover more of their duochrome eyeshadows because, wow, this one's really pigmented. Definitely, like, chromatic. OMG, so pigmented, so crazy silver, it's just insane. And actually navy is quite good, a little difficult to work with. but it's definitely, I don't think I have a navy blue that's quite that color and quite that pigmentation. So I'm excited to use it because there's been a lot of times where I need a color like that and I just didn't quite have it. Honestly, pretty much every single color in this palette is amazing. Okay, if I had to pick five favorites, and that is it, they would be Nina's Orchid, Maroon, Oxide, it's what, 3? Rosewood, and Golden Rose. Even though Petroleum Blue is like the one that I say if you only can get one. But those ones are the ones I feel like I'm going to get the most use out of. So just to wrap up at the end, this is without a doubt one of the best, if not in fact the best eyeshadow formula I have ever had the pleasure to use. The price is definitely justifiable, not necessarily making it affordable, but it is definitely justifiable. And it is something that it is worth saving up for if you are interested in this type of insanely pigmented eyeshadows. Because I don't know if these are permanent, these big ones. I'm hoping they are, but I don't know for sure. So that's it for this video. If you have any additional questions, I'm sure there's something I missed. Go ahead and leave me a comment in the question section. Leave me a question in the comment section down below. And that's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Remember to be vintage or tacky. Just be your own kind of beautiful. See you. Bye.